Want to make sure that Devin can hear us as well. Let me see where I put these. Okay.
So
Okay.
many online sources, huh?
Huh?
You're on so many online sources.
Oh yeah, we'll
You know,
add a couple
Facebook.
more, however many
Okay,
we
I can
need.
hear everyone.
Okay,
Okay.
great, great.
Yeah.
All right, so here we are. All right, all right, all right. You can hear everyone, Devin?
Yeah, I just checked the Facebook. I can hear everyone, you and the guest.
Okay, great, great. That's perfect. Oh boy. So you know what? We're going to talk about we have some questions for uh, Dr. Deborah Verholden. Of course, we're going to start off with Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, Esquire, with good news, everybody. And then we're going to go to Dr. Deborah Verholden, have a few questions for her. Thank you, Lorraine, for gathering up all of these questions. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing, sweetie? How are you feeling? Hope you're doing well. Um, we're going to ask her questions that you all have submitted. We're going to ask them throughout the week because we need to know. Hey, Jewel, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Oh boy, oh boy. And then we're going to talk with Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas about her Black Houses Matter campaign. Um, Marnie, Maria, and Chaparral, I read about that. You know, I like to Google and ask to see where I can find stories, to see where they popped up. This story is now, it's a national story, what she's doing. So I'm really
Wow.
glad. Yeah, I'm really glad to see that. It's
I
become a
saw
national
her
story.
on television.
Yeah.
She looks great.
Oh, she's
Oh my
fabulous
God.
looking. She is fabulous looking.
Mhm.
But you know what? It lets you know when you have a sense of mission in your life, it makes you ageless.
Yeah, she certainly has been ageless. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just she loves what she does. She's very much in sync with herself, right? I think that's a lesson for all of
Mhm.
us. Just to really, really be into what we do.
Sending Reverend Yuri through.
Okay, and so it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to let you all go shortly, but not before you say hello to Reverend Yuri, and we say hello to Kenneth again. Want to make sure you're doing well, Kenneth. Let us know how you're feeling. Jewel, Francis, Tina, how you doing? Lorraine, Shirley from Philadelphia. Love that, Shirley. Adrian, let me see. Barbara Bacon, how you doing from Oak Park? From Oak Park. I'll have to add that to you. Willie Holly, how you doing? Everybody, please go over to my YouTube page, The Santita Jackson Show, and like and subscribe. Please do that. Like and subscribe. And if you want to come back to Facebook, of course, do that. But I need to have some of you go over to YouTube as well. I really do. So, Calumet Park, Reverend Dr. Yeary, how are you?
I'm well. Good morning, Santita. How are
Okay,
you?
great. You're on with the three amigas with Maria, with Marnie, and with Chaparral. Go on and put your order in for Chaparral. Give her your love today because you know that's what you want to do.
I was just gonna say, hey y'all. That's all I was gonna
Hey.
No, you
say. Hey
weren't. No,
y'all.
you weren't.
Good morning,
Tell the
Reverend.
truth and shame that devil.
Oh, now.
Now, now.
I don't wake up thinking about food. I usually wait about 10 minutes before it kicks in.
Okay.
So,
Wait. Well, when you coming back to Chicago? Because it's warming up here now. Well, at least today.
uh, maybe a little later this week, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just a well, Chaparral has just come off of a big order, so she might not be able to get anything for you. But Reverend comes out of rehab this week, so we're very excited about that. So I'm gonna try and have Chaparral make him something that he would enjoy. But the awful
Oh, of
part is
course.
he would want her to make something every day. Well, when am I gonna get some more banana pudding? Now he just lost like 40 pounds.
Did he? Oh, Wow. wow.
His stomach, which is like great because we were, concerned about that. Like, come on now. My mother said, you look like I did when I was having children. Isn't that nice?
Wow.
When you've been married that long, I guess you can say anything. Hey, Michael Ann, how you doing? Vicky. Lorraine, thank you so much. Hey, thank you. Willie saying looking good. How about that? Thank you so much for giving me all of these questions. Lorraine has been collecting these questions. Maria and Marnie and Chaparral. And so for Dr. Deborah Holden, we need to do that. And, Francis Reverend is doing very, very well. we really see the power of therapy, you know, which is something that he was reluctant to put in the center of his life. He wanted to continue with his own schedule, and um, and that's understandable. My father's been on the move for 60 years, if not longer, in public life, in service. But he's at a point in his life where the therapy has to come first so that he can do the other things that he wants to do. We already hear, and you heard it yesterday on Keep Hope Alive, a tremendous improvement in his speech, in his articulation. Haven't you heard that, Reverend Dr. Yeri?
I've heard it, I've seen it, and to your point, Reverend is driven, and so he was always his heart always had him where the concerns of the people are, and so this is actually giving him an opportunity to do something that he would not have done probably
Ever.
on his own because he is so committed to service. So we are glad to be able to see him take the time to focus on himself, and we're seeing the benefits from it.
He maketh me to lie down beside the still waters. That is what has happened. And so we are most
Mm.
grateful for that. We are most grateful. So
Santita, you better take a text on Monday morning. Now quit playing.
come on now.
You go
I
you
know
go
when you get knocked down, darling. But then
That's
when he maketh me to lie down, sit down. But you don't listen to me. Okay, I'm gonna make you do it. And your soul will be restored
Going live in 60.
after you've been obedient.
Sometimes that has to happen.
Three amigas, I'm gonna let you go so we can go on and get right to
All
this.
right, have
And
a great show.
love you all. Call in, everybody. Let's talk about this, the minimum wage and the fight for it. Whew.
Good morning.
Oh, good
Have a good
morning.
show.
Thank you, sweeties.
Have a great show.
Bye bye. Okay,
Hey guys.
everybody. Coming up. Oh my gosh.
10 seconds.
Thank you. Nicole, I think the J&J vaccine will be out. What is it?
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first day of March, Monday, March 1st, 2021, on the Santita Jackson Show. Coming to you from the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, WCPT 820 in Chicago, but we reach all over the country, all over the world, actually. AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, they are my homies to the north, sending you much love today. I need you to call or text me at 773-763 WCPT, 773-763-9278. Let's have some wonderful conversation today. I want you to meet all of my morning stars, the Santita Jackson morning stars. I love them so much. These are my folks. Dwayne down there in Houston. Hey, joining the morning stars. Love it. Luciana, how you doing? Chaparral and the three amigas, Chaparral, Marnie, and Maria, get us started with our sound check in the morning. And Lorraine gets us started with gathering up all the morning stars. And Stanley and so many of you, thank you. Tin Shay, how you doing? Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Everybody meet the morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends page and on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to the Santita Jackson Show page, but we are streaming on Twitter at Santita J, at the Santita J Show. But we're going to bring those into one. Santita J. We're just going to bring all of those into one. So, but like and subscribe, everybody. Like and subscribe. We are streaming, and we are talking about the minimum wage today. The fight for it. What must be done to get to 15? Although economists say that we really ought to be at 24, if not more. So there's a lot to talk about with that, and COVID-19 questions with brilliant, world-renowned epidemiologist Dr. Deborah Holden, and of course the good news with Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, Esquire, pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church in Baltimore, one of our iconic churches in the nation, one of the oldest Black churches in the country. And of course, he's senior vice president of Rainbow Push. Let's get to some of these headlines, everybody. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 32 degrees above zero. Love it. Partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 22 degrees above zero. Sunny, everybody. It's amazing. You do have to say that. Wow. With the $15 wage included, House Democrats fulfilled their election promise with the passage of a sweeping $1.9 trillion COVID 19 relief package. But there's a caveat. On the Senate side, the parliamentarian has said we've got to remove the $15 an hour wage hike, federal wage hike. Well, now pressure is growing on Democrats to do something to keep 15 in, everybody. Keep 15 in. What do you think is going to happen? We're going to be talking about that and the impact that that will have on 2022 and 2024 as we're watching President Trump, former President Trump, make his reappearance onto the political stage as he did yesterday at CPAC down in Florida and in Orlando, in which they say he seized firm control of the party, in which he announced that he is not going to form another party and that he just might run again in 2024. He said, quote, "We began this movement together 4 years ago, and it is far from being over. Let there be no doubt that we will be victorious and America will be stronger and greater than ever before." Not without some controversy, though, because the Hyatt Hotel said that the stage resembled a Nazi room, and they found that abhorrent, everybody. The stage looked like a symbol from Nazi Germany. You cannot make this stuff up, everybody. Pulling that up on my page on Facebook so you can look for yourself. Well, now the latest vaccine could be in your arm as early as tomorrow. Johnson & Johnson has a single dose vaccine that has 66% effectiveness. Now the other double dose vaccines are up to now between 94 and 95% effective. But Dr. Fauci is saying that, look, any of the three COVID vaccines are better than none of the COVID-19 vaccines. So what do you say? This Johnson & Johnson vaccine can be kept at a much warmer temperature. It still needs to be refrigerated, but it doesn't need to be below zero. So what do you think about that? Are you willing to take any of the vaccines, or do you want the best vaccine? Or are you still on the fence? Now the UK is going to run a controversial COVID-19 challenge. That is, they're going to pay British citizens to get infected with the coronavirus after the UK became the first country in the world to greenlight this controversial study. What do you think about that? And now they're talking about vaccine passports. Wow, that you might need a vaccine passport to get admitted to certain countries. Let's get some good news from Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary. What is going on today? I need a lift.
Santita, good morning to you. I just have a question. Did I just hear you say they paying folks to get shot up with stuff that's supposed to make them sick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted to.
All right.
I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff.
Okay.
They're doing the most. So I just said,
Okay. Yeah, they doing a whole lot.
I
That's they doing too much.
my
That's just
brother,
too
I'm trying to give you some news.
Whew. Well, you just set it up for me. I got to have some good news after that. Good morning, Chicago. Good morning, Twin Cities. Come on, get moving. Nobody shot you up with anything to make you sick. You just have an opportunity to get moving because you have a great day, a good day in store. So go ahead, wake up, put your feet on the floor. I know it's warming up there in the Midwest, but the floor is still a little cold. But go on and put your feet down so you can feel it. It'll wake you up. And then go ahead and get moving, get your morning beverage going, get that cup of Joe, however you like it. But I need you to take a deep breath of life because it's going to be a great, great day. So I hope you're excited about it. If not, go ahead and get excited about it because this is still the day that the Lord has made. Go ahead and rejoice and be glad in it. I need to talk to you about design. Can I talk to you about design this morning? Design is the intent for an outcome that's built in at the beginning of the process. And so I often tell folks, if you study architecture, an architect doesn't have a building when the building is completed. They have a building when the designs are drawn. It changes our perspective about how we approach life because many times we don't grasp or fully own what we believe God might be doing in our lives because we're waiting for the outcome and we have not paid much attention to the design. And so, what I want to say to you this morning is very simple. You were designed to win. I'll say that one more time in case you missed it. You were designed to win. Don't wait for the outcome. It's part of the plan. And so in you, God has placed all that is essential and necessary for you to live victoriously by design. Now, sometimes we face the difficulties of life. Life comes with its share of challenges. It happens every day. And it's Monday. You know what we say on Monday. We'll be all excited, and something is going to try to throw us off of our game. Here's what I want to say to you is that you have to first expand your perspective. Don't get pulled into the narrow focus on minute issues that make you miss the big picture. And what allows us to expand our perspective is sometimes we have to walk according to our imagination instead of our situation. What is it that God is actually calling us to do? So that when we face trouble, the trouble actually becomes the canvas for our greatness and not the obstacle to it. The second thing I want to say to you is you got to protect your mind. Watch who and what you allow to have access to your thoughts and dreams. My friend in Houston, Santita, Arthur Andrews, he's a motivational speaker. He often says when folks try to come contaminate your yard, when they try to plant weeds in your grass, then you say to them, bad seed, bad seed. Don't cuss them out. Don't bless them out. Just go on and tell them, I see what you're trying to do. Bad seed, bad seed. Stay focused. Don't get distracted. Now, the third thing, before I get to the third point, we grew up on the Bulls, the Showtime Lakers and the Bulls and the Bad Boys in Detroit. And then there were the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics had Larry Bird. And I promise you, Larry Bird got on my last nerve. But Larry Bird said something. Remember when Larry and Magic played in the NCAA championship game and then they ended up having competitive careers? Larry Bird said a winner is someone who recognizes their God-given talents, work their tail off to develop them into skills, and uses these skills to accomplish their goals. You're a winner not because of what you do, but how you do it. And so we have to ground the vision of our greatness in inspiration so we don't react in desperation. What inspires you? Whatever inspires you, that should be your passion, and your passion will lead you to your purpose. That's Elijah Cummings, for those of you who don't know, and that should inspire you. You were designed to win. It's in the blueprint, and the blueprint is going to drive you to your outcome. So go ahead and get moving because the plans are already in place. This is going to be the best day of your life. Get going, get moving, and I'll talk to you next week.
We love you, Reverend Dr. Todd Urey, Esquire, pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church in Baltimore. Uh, Brilliant, 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 brilliant. And of course, Senior Vice President at Rainbow Push. I don't know how you manage to do it all, but you do, and you do it brilliantly. More than that, in a most anointed way. We've got one of your home girls here, Dr. Deborah Fur Holden, world renowned epidemiologist, straight out of Johns Hopkins, and she is now at Michigan State University. As you all know, I always try to bring up her credentials because we want people to know this brilliant woman. Of course, she is constructing their School of Public Health. We have a whole lot to talk about today. Not a lot of time to do it, but we're going to make this happen, and we're going to do it in an expanded form on our Monday night forum. Not this Monday, because I've been really taxed with a lot of things that I've been trying to work on that I'll be able to share with you in a few weeks. But we're going to be returning in the next couple of weeks to our Monday night get-togethers. Dr. Deborah Furholden, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. The Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccine, what is it?
Well, it might be just the dose of hope that we all need. It's a very different vaccine. Really, it might be the different vaccine than the two types of vaccines that are out. Hence, it has a different storage requirements. Doesn't have to be refrigerated at those really low temps. It only requires one dose. Doesn't have quite the effectiveness, but the effectiveness is still in an acceptable range. And it offers a one dose alternative. It could be the great equalizer in getting this vaccine to people fairly and equitably. So, and again, I wish I could go back in time when these guys were sitting around the table and somebody said, I know what we gonna call it. I'm a Star Trek fan. Let's call it warp speed. I wish I could go back to that moment and say, no, bruh, that's a bad idea. But short of that, the steps haven't been skipped. And I don't know if people realize it took a little bit longer to approve their emergency use authorization than the Pfizer and the Moderna took. And so I really do just want to underscore for people, no skip steps. I know warp speed sounds strange because I myself hear warp speed and hear corner cutting, skip steps, too fast. I hear operation, we did it real fast. And I just don't want people to not really appreciate the fact that we have a very extensive vetting process for all new medications, whether it be a medication for hypertension or a vaccine for coronavirus. And none of those steps got skipped. The only other thing I'll say is people have a lot of questions, and a lot of the not now or the no for now people are really saying, well, I just want to wait and see. You go first. I want to see how my daughter does with it or how my neighbor does with it. She's a nurse. I want to see how my so-and-so, turns out because, they got this condition and, et cetera. So a lot of people are a no now. And I just want to reassure people, there are very few and minor few cases where the impact of a vaccine won't show up for years later. It's just such a rare, and I don't want that's going too far, but it's just such a rare likelihood. More than not, when people take medications or when you take a vaccine, if there are going to be effects, we're going to see those effects within a few days to a few weeks of people taking it. Think back to even the thalidomide exposure that pregnant women had when they took thalidomide for morning sickness. We didn't actually know the impact on fetal development because simultaneously we weren't using sonograms at the time. So we didn't have a way to see the baby, before the baby came out. It wasn't that the effect of the drug hadn't taken hold. It was that we just couldn't see the effect of it. But the changes that it was prompting for fetal development were happening pretty much in real time. And so I do think with the rollout of this Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it is going to give us more options. It's going to give us more opportunities. It's strengthening one of these layers of protection. And if you think about it, if what we're really in is this is going to be our new normal, and we're going to have to get this COVID vaccine very much like the flu vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine poses a much better alternative with the windows, with the different storage options. It could be a game changer for us. So,
well, do we know enough about mRNA vaccines? I mean, because I'm still hearing people. There's some people who know for now, and there are a lot of other people who just like no, absolutely not. I've been taking my little soul poll, which is not scientific, but you just ask people because sadly, whether you have taken the vaccine, are open to taking the vaccine, or if you are no for now, that's become like a political hot potato, unfortunately. Um, I bumped into a couple of black gentlemen downtown who were working security at one of the big government buildings. And I think I shared this with you last week. I asked one of the gentlemen, I said, make sure you keep that mask above your nose now. Make sure your nostrils are covered. And he said, I'm taking my zinc. I'm taking this. I mean, he went through this whole thing. And it was very clear to me that he had done a lot of research. Was he an epidemiologist? No. And he said, no. Do I have a scientific background? No. He said, but I have had to find out because at the beginning of this pandemic, when many black people I know who presented at the hospital were turned away, they were told, go home. you know, And by the time they would represent, they were very, very sick. Do we know enough about these mRNA vaccines to really make some determination about how safe they are? This efficacy and the vaccine safety is something we really don't talk about.
Yeah, well, I want to be clear. These mRNA vaccines didn't just crop up during COVID.
Okay.
They've been under development for over 2 decades.
Have they been
So,
used before?
they, they've been used in testing, not in the human population. No, there had not been an approved in America. There had not been an approved mRNA vaccine. But remember, this is the thing I want to make sure that people are really clear about. The way a lot of these other vaccines work, you've been getting the mRNA of a virus, plus you've been getting the actual viral molecule itself with some piece of it knocked out so that it won't get you sick. So this is not this vaccine is only using the one little piece of the virus, the viral molecule, which is one piece of the mRNA. It's not even using the whole mRNA sequence. It's using one piece of the mRNA. So this is the equivalent of almost like a subset of some of the vaccines that we've had in the past.
Okay.
So no, I don't think, nobody can say anything with absolute certainty. But if you understand what mRNA vaccines are and are not, I think they offer a much safer alternative to many of the things that we are using now. And I always do remind people, if you're concerned about the being exposed to this slice of the mRNA in the vaccine, realize if you get exposed to the virus, you're getting all of it. You're getting the viral molecule plus all of the mRNA. Your body's getting all the instructions to replicate not just the spike protein, but the whole viral molecule. And that spike protein is the key to unlock your cells and let the whole molecule into your cells so your body can do the work of replicating it.
Well, you know.
So,
We
yeah.
have a couple minutes left, but Lorraine and the Morning Stars have been gathering questions for you, and we're going to ask them of you going
Sure.
forward because people listen to you and they need to know. So let me give you this one question today because I got a whole slew of them from you. Are there any contraindications when taking your meds or vitamins when you are about to be vaccinated? Should you not take your meds on the day you get vaccinated?
I don't have any indication of that. I would ask your healthcare provider.
Okay.
And I don't want to say no, it's fine, because then somebody will come back and be on some wonky med that not wonky, but very specialty med that isn't a common med. But no, I don't believe so. And if you have a question, you can always ask your healthcare provider and the person that's administering the vaccine. Even when we're doing now volunteer vaccinations, where we've got a volunteer workforce administering the vaccine, there will be some health personnel on site at those places. But again, I think depending on what you're taking, I've seen nothing that said you can't. And I think if you have a special concern, you should ask your healthcare provider.
Could you ask the people who are administering the vaccines? I have 1 minute.
You can, but if because we're using volunteers now, you might have to ask for the medical personnel on site. There will be, if you have because it's just an intramuscular shot. It doesn't take any special expertise to do that kind of shot, but there will be somebody medically trained on site. So ask to speak to that person if that is not the person that's giving you the actual injection.
Dr. Deborah Olden, turn in your questions. Lorraine's pulling them up. We got a whole lot of questions for you. A lot of people want to know about the vaccines and want to know about our overall health. And so we're going to continue to expand this segment with Dr. Deborah Holden because she can answer a lot of questions about our personal health, about public health. That's where we are now. We need to find out how we can be healthy. We're going to be talking with Treasurer Maria Pappas, Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. Black houses matter. Do you know you could be facing foreclosure? You could be facing eviction from your home, but if you have back taxes, your home could be saved. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Dr. Deb,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
we've got to do one of the Monday night. I can't do it tonight. I've been swamped with a lot of other stuff, but I'll call you a little bit later. Um, but I want to have a conversation with you. In fact, I'll send you these
Mhm.
questions. It's about 5 or 6. They're pretty detailed, and so that you can have them and just going forward. And they're sending them every day. We just said we wanted to send them, but you can say hello to Reverend Dr. Yeri.
Looks like he just hung up.
He just hung up. Oh, okay.
I'm getting Treasurer Pappas on.
Okay. But how you doing, Dr. Deb?
I'm great. I'm doing great. I wrote an open letter to President Biden over the weekend. I'm waiting for folks to give me feedback, and then I'm pushing it out.
Oh my
A
gosh.
demand for equity in vaccine administration, distribution, and administration, which starts with requiring the data collection systems be in place and that people actually enter that data. That's the big mistake that we've made. We haven't required that people collect the data nor enter that data anywhere, and so people have been able to kick the can down the road and say, well, we don't even really know what the real problem is because we don't have
Sending Treasurer Pappas through.
They got data on gender and age, but no data on race and ethnicity.
You
So
know,
I don't understand why the intention of leaving that out. You must not care. If you care, you would collect it. If you don't care and you don't want to know, you don't want to do anything about it, then you don't collect it.
Okay. Well, you know what? I want you to meet Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. How are you, Maria Pappas? How are you?
Oh, I'm always good, Santita. How are you?
I just love this woman. She is the first sponsor on my show. Is the Cook County Treasurer. I mean, when I first started the
Oh,
show,
that's
she said,
great.
"I want to help you. I want to help you," and we love
And you're
her.
kicking ass now, huh?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we are. Praise the Lord.
I'm
But
glad to hear that.
I wanted you to meet this young woman because she's someone we need to get into Cook County. She comes out of Johns Hopkins. She's an epidemiologist, got her PhD by the time she was 24, full scholarship there. And they brought her to the Michigan State University to create their School of Public Health. And she's been looking at equity, and they have had a lot of success in mitigating the virus. And so she's just someone you ought to know because um, this is one of the biggest people in county government in the United States of America, our Cook County Treasurer. And so, Dr. Deborah Verholden, Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. You all
Hey, Doc,
consider
how are
yourself
you?
introduced.
Great. Nice to meet you.
and she's like this all the time. I want you to know, Dr. Deborah Verholden.
We'll catch up, Doc. We'll catch up. I hope it's not in the hospital.
Yes.
And keep your vaccines. Please. Enough.
Oh God!
Get it over with. Lordy.
My goodness, this is a lot. This is a lot. But you know what? I'm glad you're keeping us in our homes because this is a really, really, this is a big deal. We're going to be up in about a minute, but this is
60 seconds.
important. Oh, Devin, did you know when we're putting the commercial in?
7:30, between the 7 o'clock hour, right? Yep, got it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
But so we will come up shortly. But thank you so
You're just letting me rattle on. I'm going to be on for about 20 minutes.
Actually, you'll be on until like 24 minutes, 25. You'll be on until
perfect.
58. Oh yeah. No, I'm going to let you
Not
go.
a problem.
No.
Okay, just let me talk. Yeah. Wind me up. Drink your coffee. Give some vaccinations.
But you know what? No, you give us a lot of information, and people, you have saved so many people. I mean, we've heard this in Operation Push. So many people were about to be put out of their homes. Dr. Deborah Verholden.
Yeah.
But this is a treasurer who's going down.
What's the
going
10.
to find people?
On this Munson Sneed or Munson Smeed? Do you know this guy?
Yeah. Well, we're on Facebook Live right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, AM 950 radio, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And you can call or text me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. That's WCPT. Of course, we are talking with Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas about Black Houses Matter, how to save your home. This is not for Black folks only, but it has disproportionately impacted Black people, having back taxes that are owed to you. You don't even know that you are owed hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. You might not have been taking your senior citizens exemptions. And to show you how unique this program is, I mean, to have a treasurer going down the street looking for you, I Googled it. And I started seeing the coverage that the program is getting in Denver and all around the country, because it is unique and it is now becoming a model for other treasurers, county treasurers around the country. So, Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas, thank you so much for all that you're doing. What is Black Houses Matter? First, let's start there.
Okay, so you just sit back now, you and the doctor there, no vaccinations, you just like chill, have your coffee, and I'm going to like rattle on here, okay?
Okay.
So in March, in March, everybody was like, oh, you're going to march, you're going to go march, you're going to march, you're going to march with Black Lives Matter. I'm like, seriously? I've done marching. I have marched and marched and marched, and I'm going to do something that matters. I'm going to dig my teeth into something that I know something about and make a difference. So the difference is, the end result so far, Santita and Doctor, is that since March, this isn't when I was at Push, but just since March, we have given back $49 million in the African American community. $49 million. And that's amazing. And how were we able to do that? We were able to do that because we are directing people to a website, my website, which is up in 108 languages, and getting, believe it or not, 1 million visits a month. 1 million people a month are coming to cookcountytreasure.com, which, why would anybody want to come to cookcountytreasure.com? Well, first of all, they're at home and they don't have anything better to do, okay? Everybody's at home, so this is like Pappas's lottery. This is like Pappas's lottery. So now you're going to get to cookcountytreasure.com, and after you get there, what are you going to find? We've made this third grade proof. You get there, you put in an address, your address, or anybody you know on your iPhone, your iPad, your home computer, anybody at all you know who's owned any piece of property going back 20 years. So you get there, and guess what? The first thing that pops up after you put your address in, you got to know you're in the right place, right? Because there's 1.8 million pieces of property. You're going to see a picture of your house, a picture of your commercial property, or a picture of your lot. So we direct in this program most of our attention to homes. Most of our attention is going to homes. And why is it going to homes, and why do we talk about Black Houses Matter? So in May, this past May, we were supposed to have a tax sale. At that time, there were 58,000 parcels on the list, 75% of which are Black homes, 75% of which are in the African American community. We have whittled that list down. We're at 38,000 right now. So of the 38,000 remaining, let me take that back, 35,000 remaining, 16,000 have returned mail. Well, doesn't that seem a little odd to you? That 16,000 pieces of mail keep coming back to my office. So when you get to this site, cookcountytreasure.com, if you're one of the people, or your mother, or your disabled aunt, or your uncle, their mail came back to me, it's going to show up right on the front page of that website. Big red banner, returned mail, which means you did not get notice. You did not get notice. So I'll give you an example. On Friday, we contacted a 102-year-old African-American woman. She was on this list, and she never got her mail. Guess why she never got her mail? Because she never got up to go to the mailbox. And when she did go to the mailbox, and when the guy came with the certified, she threw it away. What does she know? It looks like a piece of red and white paper. So the guy shows up at the door. He knocks on the door. He throws a piece of mail at her. He keeps on moving. What does she know? She's a 102-year-old African-American woman who was on the list. She, if you had gone and put in her address and scrolled down, you would have seen that she didn't get her mail. And if you'd have scrolled down a little bit more, you would see that this 102-year-old woman, now think about this, never got her homeowner's exemption. That's 4 years, $500 a year. You can go back 4 years, $2,000, right? And never got her senior exemptions. 4 years, $500, another $2,000. I owe her, this 102-year-old African American, $4,000, right? And she was on the tax sale for owing me $1,200. The house could have been sold for property taxes. Could have been sold. So now we're going out there today. We're going to go out there today. Incidentally, it's Pulaski Day, and after we finish here, we're going to the Polish Museum. But the people in the Cook County Treasurer's Office, even though it's a holiday, they're going out to see this 102-year-old woman because we have found that if you don't get up and go out and trace the person and knock on the door, you may get nowhere. I'll give you another example. We found a woman last week, and we have this program where we run who could possibly be your relative in terms of an address. And we found a lawyer in Mississippi whose mother is here who sort of has a little dementia. She was on the tax sale list. He didn't know. We located him. She's getting $1,300 back. She's off the list. He's now on our e-billing program. So you can sign up your parent so that you get their bill in your email. So, and listen up. If you've left the city of Chicago and you got an elderly person around, don't wait for the United States Post Office to tell them what's happening. Get it delivered to you in your mailbox. We have at least 100,000 people signed up for this. But let me go on now. You're on that site and you're going to see if you got an exemption. What's a homeowner? You have to have lived in the house for at least a year. Okay? So there are lots of millennials, first-time homeowners, who aren't on the tax sale list, African-American, who haven't gotten a homeowner's exemption. Why? Because they don't wake up in the morning in the middle of a pandemic and say, did I get an exemption? They do not know what an exemption is. So now you're moving to the next category, senior. Seniors over 65 are entitled to an exemption, $500 a year. And seniors over 65 are entitled to a senior freeze exemption if they're making under $65,000 a year. So a whole lot of seniors out there haven't gotten a senior exemption, haven't gotten a homeowner's exemption, and haven't gotten a senior freeze. They're making under $65,000. They didn't know that they were entitled to any of these three exemptions. So if you're missing all three and you're a 102-year-old senior, I owe you somewhere on or around $6,000. So that's what we're doing. So now what are we doing? We know that of the 35,000 pieces countywide, 18,000 owe less than $1,000, owe less than $1,000. So what are we doing about that? So listen to why Black Houses Matter and why it was created. So let me rattle off some wards. Carrie Austin has 1,800 properties. Stephanie Coleman, 1,700. Anthony Beal, 1,200. Jeanette Taylor, 1,200. Sawyer, 1,200. David Moore, 800. Greg Mitchell, 700. Michelle Harris, 600. Michael Scott, 569. Pat Dell, 461. Howard Brookins, 438. My Squirrel Man, and Jason Irvine, 411. Emma Mitz, 283. Now let's just waddle on over here to the lakefront. Those are all, if you don't, listeners here, those are all African American wards, okay? Listen to the lakefront. The 44th ward, 25 homes. The 31st Ward, 24 homes. The 47th Ward, 30 homes. There is a discrepancy. You can't tell me that there isn't a discrepancy between 1,800 homes and 24 homes. It's a difference between what's happening in African American wards and predominantly white wards. Predominantly white wards. So now look at this. We need to say, because everybody thinks, oh, it's just the city of Chicago. No. No, no, no. Listen to African American suburbs. Harvey has 4,500 pieces. Chicago Heights, 1,900. Robbins, 1,400. Calumet City, 927. Markham, 886. Fort Heights, 860. Dalton, 546. Dixmoor, 529. So now let's go to the other end. Okay, let's go look at this now, and let's see what is happening in white suburbs. Okay, Kenilworth, 1. Bedford Park, 1. North Riverside, 2. Glencoe, 3. Elmhurst, 3. Rosemont, 3. Harwood Heights, 3. Hometown, 4. Barrington, 5. Now, Santita, don't you think there's a big difference between 4,500 in Harvey, okay, and 3 in Winnetka and those suburbs? So the answer is yes. So what are we doing about this? What are we doing about this? We have got a van. The van is being equipped. It's called the Pappas Mobile. The van will be ready in the middle of April. So what are we going to do? We got 2, one for the west side and one for the south side, and we're going out in the van. We are literally going out in the van. The van is equipped with 3 small desks so that we can knock on doors, go into neighborhoods, get people in the van, and sign them up. Why? Because no one wants to come to the county building. They don't want to get on a bus. They don't want to get on the train. They don't want to come down. They don't want their temperature taken. They don't want to have to wear a mask. They want to have to get in a dirty cab. So we're making this easy. So now, how easy are we making it? We have broken down by ward, each of the wards, each ward, and we're in the process of breaking down by each suburb who owes what in each suburb. So let's take an example of, let's just say, like David Moore, for example. David probably has 5 people who owe $200. Really? He has 5 people who owe $200 and 4 people who owe $500. You follow me? And on and on and on. So we are now working with David to have David go out and knock on that door, see if he knows that person, do some legwork before we get there so that we can follow up, put the person in the van, and get it done, So we also have a phone number for people who can't work their computers and can't figure that out. And it is 312-443-5100. It's 312-443-5100. That phone service runs 24 hours a day because it's automated. It's automated. You can ask the phone. You can put in your 14-digit PIN number on your deed, and the phone will answer you like your credit card answers you. You know, you want to know what your balance is? They'll come back and tell you, this is what you owe. So if you've got a parent and you're outside in another city, just call 312-443-5100. You can also call that number if you want me to send somebody out, because since there's nobody in the building, we have a whole lot of people who are going out to different persons' homes. We even, because I've got my radio show, Black Houses Matter, a guy called in and he said, well, I don't think I can come downtown. So we sent somebody out to his house. Santita, he was blind. He was blind and he hadn't gotten his exemptions and he was on the tax sale list. And we got him off and we got a disabled seniors exemption, which is the subject of an entire other radio show, disabled exemptions. But if you go to cookcountytreasurer.com, it will tell you and it will define for you every possible type of exemption that someone can get. So now let me tell you some good news. Today is, in the real world, today is what we call the due date. Today is March 1st, but today is a holiday, so the due date normally would be tomorrow. But the county board voted to extend the deadline. So you don't have to pay tomorrow. If you don't have the money, you do not have to pay tomorrow. You can pay on May 3rd with no penalty. You're getting 2 extra months here. 2 extra months
Hold on,
to
Cook County
pay.
Treasurer Maria Pappas. Do you need to call someone to make
No,
arrangements?
no, no. Your bill, if you look at your bill, it shows that if you pay on May 3rd, there's no penalty. It shows right on the bill.
Okay.
And we've been advertising it everywhere, but I'm just telling you and let your listeners know, you don't have to pay that bill today. If you don't have that money, the penalty does not start to run until May 3rd. So, important information. Interestingly enough, about half of the payments, about half of the 1.7 million payments are escrow payments. Okay? That means you have a bank or a mortgage company pay your payment. I thought it was really nice because they've already got the money in the bank. They wired that money to me on Friday. So the banks have already, if you got a mortgage, I already got your money because your money was already sitting in a bank somewhere. So the mortgage company sent it in, which is really nice because now the money can go out to pay for teachers and fire stations and roads and bridges. That's how the county and the city fund themselves. So that money's already in. The money from homeowners is coming in a little more slowly this year. It's coming in a little more slowly this year. Why? Because people don't have the money to pay. So get to cookcountytreasurer.com. Now, I want to tell you something else that's really interesting about cookcountytreasurer.com. You would think that this 49 million that I'm talking about is all the city of Chicago money. We are getting such a response of 1 million people a month on here that I want to give you some amazing statistics of who since March got money. Bellwood, 738 people got $1.6 million. Broadview, 340 people got $820,000. Calumet City, 3.4 million. Calumet Park, 377,000. The entire city of Chicago, just African American wards, is at 23 million. Dixmoor, 139,000. Dalton, 1.5. Flossmoor, 1.8. Fort Heights, 54,000. Glenwood, 533,000. Harvey, which is terribly disenfranchised, 1.1 million. Markham, 1.1. Mattinson, 1.5. Maywood, 1.2. Park Forest, 2.1. Phoenix, 61,000. Richton Park, 606. Santita, this is jackpot. This is 49 million. This is why I'm telling you, listen to me. I'm not marching with Black Lives Matter. I'm doing Black Houses Matter because what matters here, if you have a house, you have a life. And this is what we're doing in the county treasurer's office. We are knocking on doors. We are finding people. We are giving them an extra 2 months to pay. And we are constantly, in every way, working with them to make their lives easier. When Operation Push opens up fully again and people are trafficking again there, we will come back out and station people there. But in the meantime, we have been relegated to our van and to doing the sorts of things that I'm explaining. I want to tell you something really interesting because people used to go to Chase Bank all the time. That was what they did. They would run to Chase Bank to pay. Guess what? Twice as many people are paying from their computer at home online than are going to Chase Bank. So what does that tell me? That tells me nobody wants to leave the house. Nobody wants to go out.
Or
They don't want to go out because they...
Or they might not have the money to get on the bus. I mean, people's margins are really, really tight right in through here.
Yeah, well, you to give somebody $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, Rick. I mean, you should see what they do and how they start crying and what they do with the money. And now they're fixing a roof, and I'm going to buy food. And I've never gone to New Orleans, and I'm going to go see my I won't give them. I make them tell me what they're going to do with the money before I give it to them, just to have some fun. And it's really fun talking. I had to reinvent myself because this COVID thing. I mean, I used to go out and see everybody. I've canceled over 600 in-person events since this goofy virus started. So I had to reinvent doing something that was fun. So now it's like talking to people and giving them money.
Well,
I don't know what I'm going to do when this is over. I'll just go out in the street and knock on doors and give everybody money. You know what I mean?
No, this isn't going anywhere. But Maria has a question for you. She says, "Is there a salary requirement for people earning more than $65,000 to qualify for the homeowner or the homestead exemption?"
No, you don't have. The only salary requirement is senior freeze, and that's under 65,000. Homeowner, you can make $1 million. Senior freeze, just be a senior, you can make $1 million. There's no monetary requirement on homeowner or senior exemption. Only monetary requirement is on senior freeze, and that's 65,000, and it's the total household. It's everyone in the house combined. So it's you and your husband, you and whoever's living in there with you today.
Well, let me ask you this. We have a couple minutes left here, but I want to know, because black houses do matter. But you've been saving everybody's houses. How many homes have you saved? Do you have an idea?
Well, right now, when I started in March, I had 58,000. I'm down to 36, so that's a lot. Some of them paid, but most of them we've gone out and hustled. We're out there trying to make a difference. We get like every week another 6 or 7 that we're knocking off. Be like this 102-year-old lady, like the lady with dementia. So now, because we've isolated who's owing under 200 and under 300, we're gearing the list toward them. That is who we consider the most vulnerable. Sneed, I'm going to tell you something. You don't remember 20 years ago. But when I came into this office, there were 326 African American churches on this tax sale list. It was scandalous.
Churches?
It was churches. The churches didn't get their tax exemptions, so the churches would get sold. So we worked with Houlihan in the assessor's office back then, and we got all these churches tax exempt. There is not one African American church on this tax sale list, and it used to be loaded. I used to bring in 50, 60 ministers and sit them in my office, and they would go through the list and help each other get off the list. And that took 4 or 5 years to get those 300 churches off the list. So we're not anywhere close to where we should be, because there's still 36,000, okay? Some of these have been forfeited 3 times. They've been on the list 3 times. So that person has got a lot or a home that like nobody wants. They might still be living in it. The taxes are up to 16, 17,000. The taxpayer doesn't even want it. I want to tell you about a scavenger report that I just did. That's the sale that occurs every 2 years.
Okay.
So we found that in the top 13 African American wards, where there's 52,000 pieces of property, okay, 50% of the violent crimes in these wards is where most of the vacant property is, in 13 African American and 2 Hispanic wards. 50% of the violence in the city of Chicago is occurring, and that is where people are exiting in population. In those 13 wards, we've had 36,000 persons move out. And we're finding, because everybody said, oh, you know what? People are moving out. They're moving out. They're going to the suburbs. It's not true. They're moving out of the suburbs. And the scavenger sale report, which is on the Pappas Studies on the website, it's a little blue box on the left, is something which every African American should be reading. It's called the Scavenger Sale Study. There's also a 20-year study that I did showing the discrepancies in property tax increases over a 20-year period. So CookCountyTreasure.com is getting 1 million views a month because there is information there about the thing most precious to everyone, which is their home.
Well,
And people are coming there. Yeah, I'll come back.
No, you gotta come back because people have a lot of questions because we're looking at evictions, landlords. We have the eviction moratoria, although a Trump appointed judge just suspended that. But people are worried about staying in their homes. And Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas, Maria just said you're a gem. You really are. My father
I
said,
love you guys. Say hi to your dad and the rest of your family, your mom, your brothers.
well, thank you, because you saved them some money. So thank you so much. We love Maria Pappas. We're talking
Yeah.
about, we love her. We love her. Cook
Hey,
County
Doc,
Treasurer.
I don't want your vaccination. I'll talk to you later.
Hey, I'm back with the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Oh, Cook County Treasurer, you're going to get me in so much trouble here. But you haven't taken the vaccine. I haven't either.
I haven't because I got the antibodies.
You do?
They told me not to take it until I test, negative for the antibodies.
Did you have COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
couldn't
that.
get a temperature over 90. Yeah, I had nothing. I was like walking around like a crazy lady, locked up in here. It was awful.
Oh, wow. How
With
are you
nothing,
feeling?
not a cough, nothing.
Nothing.
I'm
You were
fine.
asymptomatic.
Nothing. Zero.
Wow.
I was lucky.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad that I'm glad that you're well.
Yeah, I hope nothing happens to me over the next 10 years, but right now I'm fine.
I love you, but we got to have you back because there are a lot of questions.
When's push opening up again? When you opening up again?
Well, I think when they lift some of these restrictions, and then you could have more people.
What's the story on Munson? Because I'm going to see Munson tomorrow. I think he's a nice guy.
He's a wonderful guy, and he does a lot of great work, and he can really get your message out. He's got wonderful. He's got Rolling Out. He owns that, but he is a
he wants me to come on the Wall Street thing with your dad's program because he said this is a financial inequity in the African American community. It's got to go nationwide, and he wants to help me do that.
He can do that.
I think he's right.
He can do that.
He's the guy to do it, right?
Oh, absolutely. He can do that. He is a wonderful, wonderful guy. Tell him I said so. He's a wonderful guy. And
what's he have, a PR agency?
Well, he has magazines, and he's just very connected in the media community. That reminds me, I need to call him myself. But he is someone you need to talk to him because he can get your message out. That's why I told you. I started looking up Black Houses Matter, and I saw that this is being picked up in outlets all around the country.
Well, you call him up and tell him we're good friends.
I will do that. I'll do it today. I'll do that today. I love you.
I love you too. Say hi to your dad.
I will.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Do you not love her, everybody? Is she not the best? Oh, Deborah, thank you so much. Continue to pray for Reverend. He is, and God knows God has been so good. He is gaining strength. Blu-ray, I can see you. See? That's right. So you all can please like and subscribe over on the YouTube page because, we want to continue to grow the show. How about that? But we're going to have the Cook County Treasurer back because this is a program that we should see it in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Right? We should see it in Atlanta. We should see it down there with Billy Wingo down in Atlanta. We should see it out in Los Angeles, out there with you in Beverly Hills, Carol Soskin. We should see it out there in California with you, Bab. We should see it all over the place.
All right, sending Dwight McKee, Reverend Watkins, and Attorney Patilla through.
Okay, wonderful. Hello, gentlemen. How are you? Dwight McKee, Reverend Frank Watkins. Attorney Patilla, how are you?
Good morning.
Wonderful.
Well, how are you?
Oh, it's great hearing your voices today.
Santita.
Yes.
What station is Keep Hope Alive on in St. Louis?
Hold on one second. Fortunately, I have it sitting right here. St. Louis. Hallelujah 1600.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
1600. That's AM.
It's AM.
Okay. Okay.
1600. That sounds like the old KATZ station
I have no idea. But they've been
over on
kind
Skinker Boulevard.
okay. But they carry us and
That's the black radio station in
that's right.
St. Louis.
Okay, wonderful. And praise India in Indianapolis and KFNX in Phoenix and News Talk 1490 in Cleveland. Statewide station WOAD Gospel 1300 in Mississippi. A Syntax Beat down in Texas. KGTO in Tulsa. Uh, WOL in Baltimore and WOL in DC. We've got and more. We've got a nice group of stations, nice group of them. So it's wonderful to be with you all today. We're going to come right into this. I'm going to go through a few headlines, but gentlemen, you can have at it because you know it's well. I'll say I will save my best stuff for when we get on the air, but this has really become a big issue, Frank. Are you surprised by that? I've got about a minute before I come back up on the air.
No, not really.
Oh, wow. I mean, the things that I've been reading just over the past, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's like there's this growing chorus of, you have got to do something. So, everyone, please call or text me. No, call or text me at 773 WCPT, 773 Should the fight for 15 should the minimum wage being raised from 7.25 to $15 an hour, should that stay in place? Should that stay in the Senate bill? What do you think? I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. We want to talk about it. This is becoming quite the political fight here in the United States of America. So let's get right to it, everybody. I'm going to have a tremendous panel to talk about it. Democrats are really getting pressed.
60
And
seconds.
yes, President Biden can do something, and so can Vice President Harris. Is now the time for them to really act on this, to push. Going to find out from this panel. Find out what they think and what they think you ought to be doing as this issue is being debated. So stay right there. Stay right there, everybody. And please go to my YouTube page, The Santita Jackson Show, Paula, and like and subscribe. He will be out, Paula, I think tomorrow. He will be out. He's not in the hospital per se, he's in rehab. So that's a good thing. He's made tremendous, tremendous progress. So thank you all so
10
much for
seconds.
that. All right, here we go. Kenneth, want to make sure you're all right. So glad to know that you're doing well. Okay, stand by, everybody.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is Monday, March 1st, 2021. Just a little bit closer, everybody, to spring. We're getting through 2021. What a wonderful day. I'm Santita Jackson. This is the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950. Ooh, radio up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the voice of progressive Minnesota. So glad to be with my brothers and sisters to the north up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Call me or text me 773 WCPT 773 We're going to talk about the minimum wage, $1.9 trillion budget, stimulus package that could get through, but some people are saying that it should happen without the raising of the minimum wage. What do you think about that? The raising of the minimum wage is one of those rare issues that is getting bipartisan support. What say you? Should the Democrats fight for this? What do you think? Call me or text me at 773 WCPT, 773 Want to hear from you, want to hear from the people today. And GWC Injury Lawyers gives you the opportunity to text Meet My Morning Stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends page and over on YouTube at the Santita Jackson Show. So please. And we're streaming on Reverend Jackson's page and my landing page, the Santita Jackson page, and on Twitter, the Santita Jackson, at the Santita J Show or at Santita J. So Everybody, please, 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 I want to hear from you. Chicago, we're going to have a high of 32 degrees today, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, a high of 22 degrees, sunny. And so, everybody, let's get to a few of these headlines as we get to our package today. President Trump is ruling out a third party bid as he moves to firm up control of the GOP. In fact, when he spoke at the CPAC conference yesterday, that's the Conservative Political Action Conference, his first political speech since leaving the White House. He said that he is not leaving the Republican Party. He's not going to start his own party. He is going to consolidate his power within that party and win elections in 2022 and 2024. Maybe he will run for the presidency in 2024. He said, quote, "We began this movement together 4 years ago, and it is far from being over. Let there be no doubt. We will be victorious and America will be stronger and better than ever before," everybody. The latest and the greatest on COVID-19. What will the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine data really tell us? Well, we do know that this vaccine, under emergency authorization, will be available tomorrow, maybe. In fact, it's a single dose vaccine that is effective, 66% global efficacy. It's not as effective as Pfizer and Moderna, which after 2 doses gives you 94, 95% protection from the worst case scenario of COVID 19. But Dr. Fauci says any of these three COVID vaccines that are available to you, the Pfizer, the Moderna, or uh, Johnson and Johnson, you should take them. He said he would have no hesitancy whatsoever in taking the vaccine that was authorized for emergency use just on Saturday. That's the Johnson and Johnson jab. He said the good news is it's a single shot. And he said, although the rates appear lower than the other two, top experts are telling the public not to worry. He said you can understand that type of concern, but in order to really compare vaccines, you have to compare them head to head, and these were not compared head to head. In the meantime, the United Kingdom will run the world's first very controversial COVID-19 challenge trial. They will be paying young Britons, healthy young Britons, to get infected with coronavirus after the UK today became the first country in the world to greenlight this study. The human challenge trial will start next month in London after sealing approval from the UK's clinical research ethics body. So, researchers will purposefully expose up to 90 healthy adult volunteers under the age of 30 to a dose of COVID 19, the virus that causes COVID 19, SARS-CoV-2. So, what do you think is going to happen? Would you participate in that, everybody? Well, let's get to what's happening in politics. $15 wage, everybody. We've got a tremendous panel with us today to talk about the fight for 15. We've been looking for a $1.9 trillion COVID 19 stimulus package. Many people thought that we needed $2,000, and people really do. So you got $600 on one side, and so President Biden said, okay, we'll fill in that gap and get you $1,400. People in the progressive side have said, well, 2,000 to 2,000, you can give me 600, but you need to give me 2,000. So what about this? Embedded in this package is a lot of good stuff, everybody. The House Dems have done their job. They fulfilled this election promise. Indeed, that this is something that President Biden and Vice President Harris campaigned on. They promised that they would raise a minimum wage set in 2009 from $7.25 to $15 an hour. And now the Senate parliamentarian, who is a referee, said, no, take that out. Now, mind you, it is not an order, it is a suggestion. And so, what should happen? This is something that Vice President Harris could override. And in fact, David Sirota writes about the times in which LBJ and other presidents have actually pushed the envelope. The envelope was pushed on Medicare more than 50 years ago by LBJ. So, what do you think about this, everybody? That do you think that this promise to raise the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour, set in 2009. Should that be pulled out? Can we afford to have that pulled out? Talk to me. 1-773-763 WCPT 773-763-9278. What should happen? Well, we've got a brilliant panel with us today. We've got Reverend Frank Watkins, the co-author of the book with Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., A More Perfect Union, Advancing New American Rights. Indeed, he has been Reverend Jesse Jackson's communications director for more than 50 years. Attorney Robert Patillo, the head of Rainbow Push Atlanta, the Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push, and he is also the host of his own show on WAOK every Sunday from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Dwight McKee, founding member of Operation Push. Indeed, he and Aline Walker were the youngest founding board members, and he was head of the youth division. He's with the National Action Network, still active with Rainbow Push, and on and on and on. Let's get right to it. Frank Watkins, what say you? The Senate parliamentarian said, take this out. What should happen?
Well, as you indicated, that's simply a recommendation. By way of background, the reason the parliamentarian even comes into play is because this is a special way of getting legislation through the Senate with 50+1 votes. Normally, legislation has to meet the filibuster rule, which is 60 votes. But this is a process called reconciliation. Don't ask me what it is. But, I mean, I know what it is, but it's a extremely complicated process. And one of the complications of it is that everything has to be budget related. And what the parliamentarian said was that the minimum wage was not a budget related, so it could not go in the bill. But as you indicated, it's simply a recommendation. It's an opinion offered by the parliamentarian that the vice president could ignore. Vice presidents in the past have ignored it, and this vice president could do so if the president would let her. The second thing I would say, I want to make a brief correction. You're promoting this as a stimulus bill. It's really not a stimulus bill. That's what the Republicans want to make it out to be, and therefore they're arguing that this is too much stimulus. What it is a relief package, and we need to know what's in it. As you indicated, I think it was back in December, they passed a $900 billion relief bill that gave people $600 in relief. And so this is a bill that, as you indicated, Biden has promised $2,000, and so this is the other part of that. Every individual would get $1,400 from the government. So that's one aspect of the overall $1.9 billion package. There's the unemployment insurance supplement of $400 a week that is in this bill. Unemployment insurance, I believe, runs out on March the 14th, and so this is a relief in that regard. It involves $170 billion so that we can get our schools reopened. There is the dimension of raising the minimum wage. Now, this is a highly popular portion of the bill. All the polls show that it's off the chain popular, even among the Republicans. But a lot of people don't really know all the basic facts that are involved in this. As you indicated, the federal minimum wage currently is $7.25, and it has been that way since 2009, basically 12 years ago. Tipped workers earn only $2.13. Disabled workers earn an average of $2.15. cents an hour. And so Congress is proposing a Raise the Wage Act that would lift the minimum wage to $15 incrementally. It wouldn't reach $15 until 2025. It's phasing out the $2.13 tip wage, and it would be ending the low wage for the 420,000 workers with disabilities. It also contains $440 billion for states and localities. In other words, they've been spending money on this COVID, and they're hurting for money, and this provides $440 billion. There's $160 billion for public health measures to get the COVID vaccine into the arms of people. And there's a plan to expand paid leave, which is part of this. And then they want to make permanent the child care tax credit of $4,000. They want to make that permanent. And if you have 2 children or more, it would go up to $8,000 in child care credit. This would do a massive amount of eliminating poverty in the country, and especially child poverty.
So what
So
happens
your
if
question is, should the minimum wage be left in? Absolutely. It should be left in. Schumer should make every member of the Senate vote on it. They should be put on the record, and we should call the bluff of Joe Manchin in West Virginia and
cinema in
Senator
Arizona?
Sinema in Arizona.
Hmm. Why should their bluffs be called before I, spread this question around?
Well, their bluff should be called because to vote against this package, including the minimum wage bill, would eliminate $1.9 trillion in relief to the American people for all the things that I just got through talking about. The denial of $1,400 to individuals, the $400 a week in unemployment, getting the schools back open, aid to states and localities, public getting shots in the arm, expanding paid leave, and getting a child tax credit of $4,000 up to $8,000 for 2 and more children. So if one or both of them want to be responsible for denying all of that, let them. I dare them to vote. I want to call their bluff. I don't think they will do that.
So what do you think, everybody? 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. Want to hear from you, and you all are calling in, and I promise I'm going to get to you, but I want to bring in, get some thoughts from you, Dwight McKee. What do you think? I mean, uh, it turns out, LBJ had to do a lot of maneuvering himself, and he twisted arms to get Medicare pushed. Indeed, I think it was Senator Smathers who said, he changed his vote. And he was asked, why did you change your vote? He said, because LBJ made me do it. So what should happen
Well,
here?
look, the bully pulpit only works if you're a bully. And the reason it works so well for Trump, the bully pulpit, is because he was a bully. Biden, that's not his personality, that's not his nature, as it was not Obama's. Generally, being a bully is a matter of values and priorities. It's those things that are really important that you want to fight for. And it's obvious to anybody with a brain that this is not one of his values because he's not willing to put anything on the line in behalf of. I don't ever want us to confuse relief and remedy. Relief and remedy. Relief is somebody taking their foot off your neck. That's relief. Remedy is when, they dust you off and put a suit on you and give you oxygen and make you well. In this economy, what needs to happen, and I talked about it the other day, Santita, is there has to be a reorientation a total reorientation of the relationship between labor and management, and excuse me, and labor and revenue. In capitalism, what you negotiated and your responsibility is for your labor. You don't guarantee the profits of the investor. You just guarantee your participation on the labor side, whatever the market will bear for that. Right now, what happens is that not only is $15 an hour a minimum, it also becomes a maximum, which has been for the last 12 years. $7 an hour. It's not just been a minimum, it's been a maximum for most people. What has to happen is that it needs to be tied into revenue so that as these companies make more and more money, the laborers will participate in the profits. Dividends are tied into revenue. There is no limitation on the amount of money they pay on dividends. And so the imbalance comes because the investors and the management takes all of the profits off the top and they lock in the actual workers down into these labor agreements. And with this breakdown in the unions, most of these labor agreements have no real leverage. And so what you have is a disproportionate amount of money that flows to the top. And everybody else is locked in at the bottom. You may have somebody like Amazon. Amazon in their management team, they may make in one quarter $5, 10, $15 billion because they're on the dividend side, whereas the workers are supplementing their income with government help and food stamps and anything they can do to survive because they're locked in on the labor side at $10 an hour. We have to have in capitalism, if it's going to be real capitalism rather than selective capitalism, have to have a total reorientation in the difference between labor and management and investment.
Robert Patillo, what say you? Should this be taken out? Should this be left in? What should people do?
Well, what I'm trying to understand what the Democrat strategy is. Normally, you do one of these kind of omnibus bills when you're in the minority or when you're trying to pass something the majority of the American people don't want, or when you're facing up against an election, you just need to get something done and pushed out the door, and there's no time to separate things out. I think the minimum wage bill should be a separate bill from the omnibus COVID relief bill because, as Dwight said, it's no longer a COVID relief bill. It handles many things that need to happen. But the reason I think the minimum wage has to be a standalone bill is that by doing so, you take away all the excuses that we're going to hear when people vote against it. That you're not going to get an accurate recordation of the people who are in favor of and against and who are against the idea who have sold out to the corporations. Because they'll say, well, I support $15 minimum wage, but I don't like the way that it was done. I don't think it should be done through budget reconciliation. I wasn't voting against the minimum wage. I was voting against the $1.9 trillion in spending. I was voting against something else in the bill, and that's why. I think you have to put these people's feet to the fire because the $15 minimum wage or raising the minimum wage in general is supported by about 80% of the American people. And I think that if you do a straight up or down vote with Senate hearings on it, with House floor debate, I would love to see Christian Cinema go back to Arizona and say I voted against a $15 minimum wage vote in an up or down vote. We no longer have McConnell's graveyard that we have to run against. We have between now and 2023, basically, which is when the new Congress after the 2022 election will be seated to push these things through. So the American people are behind you. If you got the votes in the Senate, if you have the opportunity to put people on record voting against it, if you can always come back and push it through the reconciliation again, then why are we doing the most extreme measure now? Democrats are governing as if they're in the minority, as if they did not get 80 million votes in the last general election. If they haven't gotten the majority of the popular vote in every generally or in every nationwide election in the last 30 years, except for one, I need them to start governing with a backbone. Quit trying to push things through the back door that the American people support, and dare those Republicans, dare the Tommy Tuberville in Alabama, one of the states with the highest poverty rate in the country, dare him to vote against the $15 minimum wage and an up or down vote, and then go back home to Phoenix City or to Marion, Alabama. Hyde Smith down in Mississippi, who was running against Mike Espy, dare her to do the same. And I think you'll end up with Republicans, particularly in those deeply impoverished states, being forced to vote in favor of increasing the minimum wage. And also, you'll be able to do more with the bill by doing so. And I think that's why it's important to break up to a separate bill.
Amen to that. What do you think, everybody? Got a lot of calls. I want you to keep on calling. 773-763-9278. More for Santita Jackson in just a minute. Okay, so look, Maine and Tom and Tommy and everybody else, we will get to you shortly. We're going to bring on David Daly, which goes to the point of all of these numbers. What did you say? Attorney Patillo, we're still on Facebook Live and on YouTube on the Santita Jackson Show. The Democrats govern like they're in the minority. I don't understand it. You know, what is it?
Well,
Please tell me,
the,
Frank.
a couple of things. One, Dwight was talking about the labor unions. What you're talking about here, these people are not organized. They don't have labor unions. That's the first thing. And the second thing is
Sending David Daly through.
the opinion of the parliamentarian in the Senate said that the minimum wage needed to be taken out of the bill because it didn't comply with the budget resolution, with the budget reconciliation process. If you take it out of the bill and run it as a separate bill, then you have to defeat the filibuster, because you need, if it goes in the regular process, you have to have 60 votes to get it passed. Doing it under reconciliation, you only need 50 plus 1. So if it's taken out and run separately, you need 60 votes, and I don't know where you get 60 votes to override the filibuster.
Well, you know what? From what I'm seeing, Democrats, if they don't, it seems like they're going to pay a terrifically high price. They will lose. They will lose because people are very angry about this. I've just been reading more and more and more about how, look, you campaigned on this. I need you to come through on this. I'm reading everywhere.
Okay, I'm with all that, but I don't understand all the anger being directed against the people who are for it, and none of it being directed against universally the people who are against it. That part I don't understand.
You tend to go to the people you're closest to, and they did not campaign for $15 an hour. The Biden-Harris team did. I get that.
Yeah, but it's a 50-50 vote in the Senate.
I hear you, but you got to push.
I heard Sherrod Brown last night, and he was very positive and hopeful that they would be able. We're going to get this through. Now, I don't know how they're going to get it through, but he seemed very hopeful that they could.
Back in 60.
Okay, stand by. Hold on. David Daly, how you doing?
I'm good. Good morning, everybody.
Oh, okay. You've got David Daly, we've got Dwight McKee, and Attorney Robert Patillo, and Reverend Frank Watkins. We've got David Daly on us, who's going to tell us how why we shouldn't be governing as a minority party. He's got the numbers. Ooh. So stand by, because every time you come up with these numbers, it just raises our hackles. Come on now, everybody. Got to do something. So stand by. Coming up very shortly. Thank you so much for being with us today. Okay.
Ten.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, Monday, March 1st, 2021. High of 32 degrees in Chicago today, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, high of 22 degrees. It will be sunny. Beautiful, beautiful day. Maybe the winter's behind us. Don't count on it, folks. Climate change, and we're in this part of the country. We are seeing massive swings in the weather. Everybody, what about the $15 an hour wage hike? We've been trying to lift the federal minimum wage from $7.25, which was set in 2009, to $15 an hour for years. And in fact, Robert Reich, the former labor secretary under President Clinton, tweeted this out. He said, if wages had kept pace with productivity gains since 1968, the current minimum wage would be more than $24 an hour. Instead, it's been stuck at $7.25 per hour since 2009. Wage theft, he says, is the real looting in America. Joining Reverend Frank Watkins, the co-author of the book with Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., A More Perfect Union, Advancing New American Rights, and Dwight McKee, National Action Network, Rainbow Push, and the Southeastern Regional Director of Rainbow Push, uh, Attorney Robert Patilla, who has his own radio show on WAOK every Sunday. Please listen from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Joining us, of course, is Dave Daly, the author of Rat Effed, Why Your Vote Doesn't Count, and Unrigged, How Americans Are Battling Back to Save Our Democracy. Indeed, every time you've said these numbers, when we look at this 50-50 split in the U.S. Senate, you said, this is not indicative of where Americans are. Um, we've been gerrymandered out of power. Talk to me. What about the 50-50 split? What about the minimum wage that the Democrats campaigned on? What about it being pulled out of this bill? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Good morning, everybody. So it's certainly true that it is a 50-50 Senate, 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans, the tie-breaking vote held by the vice president. And yet the 50 Democrats represent 41.5 million more people than the 50 Republicans. Republicans have not won a majority of the vote for the U.S. Senate. You've got to go back to the mid-1990s for that, for a majority of Republican senators to actually represent a majority of the American people. There is a huge anti-majoritarian and I would say anti-small d Democratic tilt to the U.S. Senate that unless if the Democrats are willing to change and reform the rules of the Senate, it is going to block them from doing just about anything that they want to do. We know that there is also this anti-majoritarian structure to the electoral college that has allowed Republicans to continue winning the White House, even though they've only won the popular vote for the White House once since 1988. That, in turn, has allowed Republicans to appoint a conservative majority to the U.S. Supreme Court. 5 of the 6 conservative justices appointed by a president who did not win the popular vote. And then you factor in gerrymandering at the U.S. House level and also at the state legislative level, largely locked in by Republicans back in the 2011 redistricting cycle. And you can see that unless if Democrats are willing to use their power right now in this rare moment that they have it, it's hard to see when they're going to get a window like this again.
What do you see before I go to the callers? What would be the fallout? Because if the Democrats don't come through, because we're seeing that there's a lot of anger out here. And the Senate Democrats have abandoned, by the way, this backup plan on the $15 minimum wage. This is from the Washington Post. Senior Democrats, according to this article posted this morning, are abandoning a backup plan to increase the minimum wage through a corporate tax penalty after encountering numerous practical and political challenges in drafting their proposal over the weekend. I mean, before I
Well,
go any
again,
further.
if I can say this,
Yes.
can I say something?
Yes.
Again, don't confuse who votes with who governs. The populists vote, but the patricians govern. Even on the Democratic and Republican side, these are patricians who vote. Many of them are businessmen or millionaires themselves. So it's not in their own personal interest for the minimum wages to be raised. This country is run by patricians on both sides of the party. And somewhere between the Chamber of Commerce and somewhere between, Goldman Sachs, who always runs the Treasury, it is always in their best interest to minimize wages over profits because they're the benefactors of those who profit. One of the things that they really didn't deal with a lot last year was the amount of senators that benefited from the COVID strike because they had all these COVID situations because they had all of this stock in escrow that they was planning inside trade on. The populace votes, but the patricians rule.
Let me go to you, Maine from Chicago. Maine, what's on your mind?
Yeah, when you speak about the $15 an hour, when you think about it's been $7 an hour, that's $7 an hour since the days of slavery, since the end of the day, since the end of slavery, when it was zero wages when were paid, and now at 7, and now they want to go just to 15. It should be $20 or $25 an hour. When I wanted there was something else that you spoke about that I wanted to speak on. Go ahead.
No, it's a slow down. So do you think,
Yeah.
what do you see, what do you want to see happen, Maine?
Well, I would like to see them when they talk about giving 1.9 trillion to the people. He should have said 4 or 5 trillion and then negotiated, and he could have got 2 or 3 trillion. But because we say 1.9 and that's for the entire population of America. When you think about what the Republicans have done, they have given trillions of dollars to just a few thousand people and companies and organizations.
Well, hold on, Maine, because that $1.9 trillion is not going to Americans. It's going to different programs. Americans are going to get a piece of that, but they're not getting $1.9 trillion.
Okay. Well, you see, so I mean, we're still being somewhat left out. I mean, when you think about how when the Republicans are in, they give themselves trillions of dollars. They have taken that's what trickle down is about. They take the trillions to the top and give it to those elitists up there at the top, and which are just a few thousand people, and they get trillions of our dollars. And yet, when it comes to talking about giving something to the American people or to the throughout the country, 1.9 trillion, they want to fall all out. Like I said, they should have said 4 or 5 trillion and then negotiated, and they could have got 2 or 3 trillion.
Thank you so much, Maine. Let me go to Tom. Tom, what's on your mind?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Thank you so much for calling in.
I'm sorry. I'm getting you off of the speaker. Actually, I'm in. I know it's a strange place for somebody to be calling me from. But anyway, the gentleman earlier was so succinct when he talked about the difference between relief and remedy. And also, I appreciate the fact that the gentleman was saying that, they need to be getting about like $24 an hour because that's what the minimum wage increase, that the state of Washington instituted had, all Americans had that. That's about what it would be worth now with inflation and everything. But relief and remedy, okay? Going back in history, what was it that motivated FDR to include, African Americans in the defense industry? A.P. Randolph was a socialist. And he said, you know what? If you don't do this, we're going to have a million-man march. And you know what? The African American people were included in the defense establishment. Okay, and he wasn't a Democrat; he was a socialist.
Well, because FDR said to him, "Go out and march, and make me do it." Right? That's a little piece in that.
Well, guess what? FDR was urbane enough to understand he was going to do what he meant. And what you got to do is you got to hold senator credit cards feet to the fire, because if you don't, you're never going to get relief or remedy on a number of issues, whether it's the defense issue, whatever. 53% of all of those dollars that you could have towards Corona are going down the military garbage holes. And what he's doing in Syria, whole other issue. But I'm just putting in my 2 cents there that you gotta get tough. You gotta get tough with these people, or you're going to get nothing. And then what you're going to have back in is Trump, after the beer hall pushed, and he's coming back. You got to have a whole number of things. One is minimum wage up to $24. Holding these people accountable under the 14th Amendment. The entire Trump family needs to be in, leg irons in Fort Leavenworth, and all of the senators and congressmen that supported them need to be in the same situation. If you don't, you're in trouble. And that's why I think that gentleman that expressed relief and remedy is a genius. He just laid it all out. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, please.
Anyway, appreciate your program.
It's more than 2 cents, Dwight McKee. You've been called a genius. What did you?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take too long. But please, prayers for your father.
Oh, Tom, thank you so much. You're so sweet. And our prayers to you as
prayers
well.
For your father. I was his delegate in 88, and I wish we worked harder in those days. Anyway, I'm sorry for taking so much of your time.
No, you didn't take any of my time.
You're a lovely
Thank
lady.
you, my sweet. Thank you, Tom. Please stay in touch.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Bye. I will.
Dwight McKee, what did you hear?
I just say it takes one to know one.
Let me go to Tommy. Tommy from Chicago. How you doing, Tommy?
And then he spoke a parable to the people reading from the book of reality, and he asked them a simple question. He said, yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not come, so therefore you live for this day, for it's sufficient for its trouble. And then he began to say, do the people need a living wage or not? And then he said, do the people need health care or not? And then he said, are all you individuals up here making these decisions rich or not? And then he asked the people in closing, he said this simple, sorrowful moan. He said, stretch your hands unto the heavens will come wisdom, and ask yourself, are the Democrats in power or not? And then ask the Heavenly Father who gives to those who ask, how dumb can you be? Goodbye.
All right. Modest Bell says, I do think we should keep the pressure on our senators and the president by calling and writing them. Then we should see some movement on minimum wage legislation. In fact, Tom brought up the point, and let me jump to you, Attorney Robert Patillo, about organizing, about being active politically. He brought up the A. Philip Randolph example when A. Philip Randolph and other black leaders confronted FDR about black participation in the Second World War, and black folks were saying, I don't need to go to the Second World War because and fight fascism over there. I'm trying to fight it over here. So we have the double V campaign that came out of that. But FDR said, you know what? Lynching, Jim Crow, all of that, it is wrong. But guess what? You need to go out and march and make me change these laws. So, what should people be doing right now, in your estimation? Let me start with you.
Well, I think I think people need to call their congressmen and their senators and remind them we did that last year. That's how they got there. All that mark of the whole make me, that was January the 5th in Georgia. That was November the 5th nationwide. That was giving Democrats a majority in 2018. That is bringing out an untold number of young people, of African Americans, of other minority groups to vote and turn states like Georgia blue, to turn a state like Texas nearly blue, to get 80 million votes in the popular vote in November in the electoral college landslide. We did all the make you stuff, so now you have to deliver. And I think what's going to start happening is we're going to start seeing very similar to what we're seeing down with the MAGA movement. We're going to start seeing primary challenges from many of these Democrats. And if you think a vote on a $15 minimum wage might lose you a general election, not voting for it will lose you a primary election. You'll never get to that point. I think history is instructive. You know, the past is prologue. That when the Tea Party started entering the Republican Party politics a little over a decade ago, what we saw was the same thing where the establishment of the party tried to ignore them, tried to just harness them to win elections. And then you start seeing establishment Congress people and senators picked off one by one. And then you start seeing leadership picked off. And then you start seeing Cantor was gone, and Boehner was gone, and Paul Ryan was gone. And next, Trump is in the White House, and now the Trump MAGA party is the Republican Party establishment, and the establishment Republican Party is a third party trying to hang on for relevance. So if Democrats don't get their house in order right now and don't start coming through for what the American people put them there for, then they're going to see themselves in the same positioning where a young progressive voice will become the new face of the party, and the old establishment party will have to figure out how to maintain relevance, because these are the things that are popular with 50 or 80% of the American people in general, but particularly with the Democratic base and for the young people in the Democratic Party, these things have 95% approval with them, and it's going to be very difficult to continue winning elections going forward if we aren't coming through what the people want done now.
Frank Watkins, what do you see?
Well, it's the old progressive voice, Bernie Sanders, who is more popular than Biden and Harris right now. So, yeah, the voice can be young or old. If they're progressive and they're a fighter, then they're going to be popular in America. I wanted to piggyback on the genius's statement earlier about the elite. This is nothing new. During slavery, only 25% of Southerners owned slaves. 75% didn't own slaves. But only 25% of whites in the South owned slaves. 75% didn't. But 75% of the state legislators were slave owners. So they made the laws, to benefit themselves. So the elite notion that Dwight was talking about really is nothing new. One other thing I would point out, which is astounding to me, but 42.4% of all American workers work for less than $15 an hour. That's 32 million workers who would benefit from raising, the minimum wage, and that's disproportionately women, 59%, and disproportionately women of color, who would be working and gaining that. So, our economy is driven not by trickle-down economics, but by 70% consumer-up spending. And to give people a $15 minimum wage would increase earnings up to $3,500, $3,700 for Black and Latina women, which would add $70 billion roughly to the economy, which would be spent by consumers out of necessity. So I've never understood why business was so against accepting $70 billion.
You know, it's interesting. David Daly, author of Unrigged and Rat Effed. It seems that these young progressives, the Ayanna Presleys, the AOCs, the Jamal Bowmans, the Cory Bushes, they govern, and they push as winners. I mean, they seem to believe, feel from these insurgent candidacies that they mounted and these offices that they won that they have numbers behind them. And it seems like the establishment Democrats govern in the opposite way. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you think I'm wrong here?
I certainly understand what you're saying, but I think here's the problem. Democrats have complete control in Washington. They ran on an agenda. They said, we're going to give you a $2,000 check, right? We're going to raise the minimum wage. There were all these promises made. And now it's time for promises to be delivered. And I don't think it's that the Democratic establishment is fighting this. There are 48 votes. The trouble is you have to get to 50. And unless you can get Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema from West Virginia and Arizona on board with the minimum wage, with busting the filibuster, with overriding the parliamentarian to push a minimum wage into the COVID package, you can have all the Ayanna Presleys and Jamal Bowmans and AOCs that you want. The power rests with these two conservative Democratic senators. And Democrats have to make some choices here. Do you run an aggressive primary challenge against these Democrats and risk the chance that you push them to the other side? This happened back in 2001, right? Jim Jeffords, a liberal Republican senator from Vermont in a 50-50 Senate, changes parties, caucuses with the Democrats, and shifts control of all of the committees to the other side. Or do you take the time to build the progressive power in these states to try to beat these guys next time? Yes, I would say to all of that. The trouble is you've got to deliver on what has been promised now, because the numbers and the demographics and the structure of the Senate, of the House, mean Democrats have got a window here to win something that they're not going to have in all likelihood in 2023. The Senate map is not on their side. If they fail to deliver with complete power, it becomes even less on their side. And the entire U.S. House is going to be remapped and redistricted this year or early next year after the census numbers are released. And that is not going to favor the Democrats either. And redistricting alone could make the difference in a U.S. House right now in which the Democrats have about a 5 or 6 seat advantage. They are on a nice edge, but they also have this urgency to deliver. And the two of those things are in tremendous conflict.
I've got about 20 seconds to close for everybody. Let me start with you, Attorney Robert Patillo, 20 seconds.
I think it's crucial to talk to your congresspeople and then also monitor what's going on the state and local level. Today we have a vote in Georgia on the voter suppression bill. These people have not given up. They're partying at CPAC, but they're also around the country pushing through voter suppression legislation, trying to stop the progressive gains that many people are fighting for. So it's time to fight back, to contact your state representative, contact your congressperson, contact your senator, stay connected, stay engaged.
Dwight McKee, 20 seconds. The Republicans are organizing. It should happen.
When you look at the congressman from Virginia, you have to wonder who's funding this campaign: the coal miners or the guys that own the mine. It starts with who's giving the money. And again, If patricians are giving the money, the patricians are doing the governing.
Mm. And the final thought, final word goes to you. 20 seconds. Reverend Watkins.
The economist Rhonda Sharp, we put a lot of focus on essential workers, and she pointed out a certain misconception when she said that the job is what we've seen as essential, not the worker. So to truly value workers is to treat them with dignity, guarantee them safe and healthy working conditions, and to pay them at a minimum a $15 wage salary.
Everybody, what do you think? What do you think? And more than that, what are you going to do? You need to call your representatives and tell them that, you know what? Tell them what you want. Tell them what you need for them to do. This great thing called the American Republic is a new idea in the world. It's where you, the common person, every human being, we have an opportunity to control our governance. That means we need to get involved, everybody. Think about that. If you want to be a citizen of a republic, you got to get involved. Otherwise, you have to be a subject of a monarchy. Choose or lose. I'm Santita Jackson. I'll be with you tomorrow, God willing. God bless you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I love you guys. We're on Facebook Live. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to say before we go? I guess not. Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go, Dwight McKee. Uh, David Daly, everybody get the books. Unrigged, How Americans Are Battling Back. This is what you must do to save your democracy. And Rat Eft, Why Your Vote Doesn't Count. It's the patricians, everybody. The patricians are really running, not the people. The patricians are running the house. Dwight McKee. Can't wait for you to get your book. Everybody's talking about that over here. And of course, Reverend Frank Watkins, you all are about to issue, what is it, the 20th anniversary edition of A More Perfect Union, Reverend Watkins?
Yep.
All right. When does that happen?
It's getting close.
Okay, well, let me know
And
because I would love to
I
have
don't know
you.
the specific, but it's getting close.
Well, I can't wait to have you. I want my brother to shock me and be on the show with you. I think that would be fantastic. It would be a shock. It would be shocking, but it would be wonderful. Blessings to you all. Blessings to you all. Have a great day. Sending you much love, everybody, and sending much love to everybody. Thank you, Marnie and Chapuro, for making this happen here, and Lorraine for making this happen here. Lorraine, thank you for sending in all those questions. And continue to gather those questions. And Lorraine, thank you, thank you, thank you. You and Stanley for finding out the birthdays for March because we want to wish everybody happy birthday. Love you, everybody. All right, Modest and Deborah and Barbara and Francis and Bab and Carol out there on the left coast and Hannah and Vicky, Daryl, how you doing, sweetie? And let me see, so many of you. Deborah Black, how you doing? Is it Aurora? How you doing? And Edward Davis, how you doing, Dr. Davis? And Vicky, so
That's
many of
my
you.
college roommate.
Edward
That was my
Davis?
college roommate.
No, Edward
Yes,
is
ma'am.
no, Edward's very young. Not that one.
Oh, okay.
He's another one. He's another one. Yes. And Linda said, Dwight McKee, the genius. And let me see. And so many of you, thank you all for tuning in. And everybody, please hop on over to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube page and like and subscribe. Sending you much love. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.